Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be counting down our top 10 solo games that you could play on your own. We're not just going to be talking about games that were specifically made for solo play, because there's not really that many of them, but we are going to be talking about games that we think play really, really well when you're on your own, or if you are sad as fuck and don't have any mates to play with, right? So let's stop waffling about bullshit and get on with this list. Bollocks. So number 10 on this list is a blatant cheat. It's a series of games that use a solo system called the Automa system, and this is primarily used by Stonemaier games in games like Scythe, Viticulture, Wingspan, Tapestry. You get the idea, right? If we had to pick the best game that implements this, it's going to have to be Scythe, because this was one of the first games that implemented this type of thing, and it made it really, really quite simple once you got your head around the rules, because all the cards are basically icon based. All of the Automa systems that Stonemaier games have produced do work really, really well, and yeah, we'd be pretty stupid if we didn't include it on this list, so it's on here, right? So number 9 on this list is a game that comes in a tin, and it's specifically made for you to play on your own. It's an Irem or Irem or whatever you want to call it or pronounce it. But essentially this game sees you trapped in a nightmare nether world, trying to find the doors to escape whilst trying to avoid the nasty beasties, right? This game has quite evocative artwork. It really does suit the theme well. It's like a dreamscape type watercoloured style, and whilst this game can get a little bit stale if you play it too much, the theme is unique, the mechanics work quite well, and as a standalone solo experience on Irem is pretty good. So number 8 on this list is another cheat. Well, it's not really a cheat, but it's Archipelago, but you have to buy the solo expansion in order to play this one on your own. Archipelago is one of our favourite games of all time. It works really well as a multiplayer game. But if you do pick up the solo pack, it turns it into a really, really good solo experience, because you've got a deck of cards that drive the narrative through icons, and each card is named after a famous character or famous person that links it in with the theme. This is a trade-in in the new world exploration type game that has had certain people in the board game industry up in arms recently. But that aside, we still really do like Archipelago, and this expansion proves that it works well for both multiplayer and solo play. Right. So number 7 on this list is a game that broke away from D&D and formed its own like RPG, and this is the card version of that game. It's Pathfinder, the adventure card game. We're talking specifically about the Rise of the Rune Lords set. We did play the Skulls and Shackles one that came after that, but we stopped there because we'd had enough of this. Basically what this sees you doing is you're going to have different packs that at the time came out every month, and then you would work your way through these deck of cards, drawing cards, putting them on different locations, getting different equipment and weapons to fight different enemies, and you work your way through this card-based narrative, take your characters onto the next scenario and the next scenario, and eventually you will complete the story, and then you move on to the next set. This one can get a little bit repetitive, and there's not really that much in the cards to link the mechanics with the theme. It sort of falls apart in that sense, and still a game that is quite close to a DM-less Dungeons and Dragons experience, because it does use those generic polyhedral dice, right? Yeah, so Pathfinder, the adventure card game, perfect for solo play, right? So number 6 on this list is a zombie-themed tower defense game. It's Dawn of the Zeds. This game's currently in its 3rd edition, its most expensive edition, but it's also its best edition. It does play multiplayer now, but whereas before it was primarily a solo game. But what it sees you doing is trying to protect the town of Farmingdale from wave after wave of Zeds or Super Zeds if you are playing the advanced version of the game. There's a host of wonderful characters in this game. You can even take your dog for a walk to bite the balls off a load of marauding zombies. This one can get a little bit too complicated if you rush yourself through the rulebook. There's about 5 different rulebooks for this, but it does hold your hand through each stage, and it adds extra stuff the further into the game you get. And when you do get to the final rulebook, which gives you the complete game, it does really feel like you are in a 1950s B-movie, right? So yeah, Dawn of the Zed, wonderful, wonderful solo game. And if you can find it, it's well worth picking up, isn't it? So number 5 on this list is a game that, truth be told, we haven't actually completed yet. We haven't worked our way through this one completely. It's Gloomhaven. In Gloomhaven, you'll be taking control of a number of non-generic fantasy characters. I mean, you're not going to find any dwarves, elves, halflings and all that sort of bullshit in this one. You'll be taking them through scenario-based missions. I think there's over 100 or so in the book that you get in a core box, and you'll be sending them off onto these scenarios, getting extra equipment, going back to Gloomhaven, trading up, buying stuff, going back out on more missions, and eventually your character will turn around and say, that's enough mate, I'm going to retire, and they will put their feet up in the pub and spend the rest of their life getting pissed. That's one of the things we really like about Gloomhaven. It's full of surprises. Some of the scenarios do get a little bit repetitive. It's just a case of going into the dungeon, beating up a few geezers, and then coming out with your balls intact. But insofar as scope and ambition, Gloomhaven is unrivaled up until when Frosthaven comes out. We're not going to touch that. What's the point in going through that one if you haven't completed this one yet, right? But Gloomhaven, it's like a living, breathing world inside a box, and if you haven't played it, you must be a bit of a dick. So number 4 on this list is a game that we don't actually own, but a mate of mine owns it. He claims to have played it over 100 times. I don't know about that. Maybe he's completed it 100 times. We've played it a lot, and we've never ever completed it because it is a complete and utter bastard. But I'm going to stop waffling. It's Space Hulk Death Angel, a game that was created by Corey Konechka of Battlestar Galactica fame, right? Basically what this sees you doing is taking control of a team of Space Marines. You'll be going into different scenarios depending on what expansion packs you do not own because you can't get them anymore. You'll be going into an abandoned ship and you will be searching around trying to avoid the xenomorph type alien creatures that are going to try and rip your head off. This game is astonishingly difficult, but it doesn't make it any less fun because of that messy divorce between Games Workshop and Fantasy Flight. So you're going to have to go on eBay and you're going to have to trade in your left kidney or your right kidney if you've already traded your left kidney. It's worth trading in both your kidneys to get this game. And yeah, if you want to donate your kidney so I can get hold of it, then please send me an email that you can find at the end of this video. Right. So number 3 on this list is a game that we have only completed once, and I think we might have made a mistake and thought we'd beaten it. But no, we didn't make a mistake. But it's Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island, a game by Ignacy Trzewiczek, when he actually made original and decent games. Essentially, Robinson Crusoe sees you stranded on a fucking desert island, funny old thing. You'll have the dog and you'll have Friday there to help you avoid the 10 barrels of shit that the game is going to try and dump on your head. But essentially, you'll be trying to avoid the weather. You'll be trying to protect yourself from nasty beasts that roam the island. And one of the things that makes this game stand out from the rest of the shit is the fact that you've got these event cards that you can choose to resolve immediately and take a bit of a benefit, or you can delay resolving them, put them back into the event deck, and they're going to come out and they're going to bite you in the arse later, but the rewards are going to be greater. A fantastic and innovative mechanism for 2012, and whilst this game is frustratingly difficult, it doesn't make it any less fun, right? So that's Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. Number 2 on this list is a game that is so vast I can't remember how many different packs they released for this one. It's Arkham Horror, the card game. This game is like being addicted to heroin. It's like being drip fed opiates every month, because every month a new Mythos pack is going to be released, and when you finish with them, they're going to give you standalone expansions, standalone missions to do, and deluxe sets that are going to keep you busy all year round. They're currently in their 6th season, I do believe. But basically what you'll be doing, you'll be taking your investigators through this really well constructed narrative. You'll be able to take those characters through the deluxe set and then through each different Mythos pack that is released. And if you don't want to do that, you'll also be able to just play these as standalone missions. Some of the stories in this one are better than others. There has been some lackluster Mythos packs and some lackluster narrative arcs, but more often than not, you're going to be on the edge of your seat, just wondering what's round the corner and what is through the next door. If you like Arkham Horror and you are still really upset that you sold your second edition Arkham Horror to get that shitty third edition, then this is the mop that is going to clean up your tears. And it's well worth a look, even if there's no way that you're going to be able to find some of the older Mythos packs in this one. Arkham Horror, the card game. So number 1 on this list, and the greatest solo game ever devised by a human being or anything in the known universe, it's Mage Knight, a game by Vlaada Chvátil that will see you take control of a Mage Knight, funny old thing. You'll be traversing the wilderness, you'll be encountering mage towers, you'll be going into dungeons, you'll be giving orcs a good old slap, and eventually you'll be sacking cities and you'll be having a fucking good time doing it. Mage Knight has got a bit of everything. It's got a bit of deck building, it's got exploration, it's got character progression. You'll be wandering around, leveling up your special abilities, you'll be getting really powerful spells, and you'll be hiring followers to do your dirty work for you. Every time we play this, it feels like we're opening the box for the first time. It never ever gets old. There's so much stuff in this box, and it's without doubt the best solo game that you can get your hands on today, because it's going to last you a lifetime if you pick it up today. There's nothing else quite like it on the face of the earth. Right, so there you go. That is our top 10 games that you can play by yourself. Remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. And if you are not going to subscribe, then you can fucking do one. And we'll see you next time.